When women dare to fully be themselves, to rise up as the divine beings they are, to operate in their magic, their sexuality, their power, they are always labeled one thing: wicked.
Wicked is a podcast for women who dare to walk in their true identity, power, and magic. Who go against societal culture of being seen and not heard. Who are the black sheep and powerhouses the structure tries to defeat. And here is your shepherd leading you astray, Mystic.
Welcome back, my wicked ones. Today's episode, I want to actually carry over from a conversation we were having in the coven. And you'll have to excuse me, my voice is a little hoarse. I'm just getting over being sick last week, so still have a little bit of, clearing of the throat. But yeah, we were having this really good discussion in the coven about love and relationships. And one of the things that I love the most in this space that we've created together is there's all different levels of womanhood. We have maidens, we have mothers, and we have crones. And this is so important in community because this is what women are lacking. And especially as young maidens who, are just dating and looking around and trying to find love. You have seasoned women that are telling them, watch out for this. This is what you should look for. This is what you should stay away from. And the girls that are in that energy come in with questions like, hey, does this sound right? Does that sound right? This is what's going on in my relationship. And we're able to vet and support each other. And that's so important. Do you know how many women could probably be saved from the worst relationships if they were more open about it? And that in and of itself is something to pay attention to. Like if you think you have to hide your man from your girlfriends or from your whatever because there's behaviors there that shouldn't be seen, that in and of itself should tell you something, right? So it's like we're bringing the men before the coven and seeing if they pass the test. And then you have when maidens are wanting, are in deeper relationships, are engaged, are married, and they're wanting to become mothers. And so now we have like me and a few others that are mothers in there that are like, this is what to expect, and don't listen to this advice, and don't spend all your money on crazy things for a nursery, and this is what you really need, and this is what helped me during morning sickness, and so we're able to support that as seasoned mothers. And then you have the ones whose kids are grown and, they're empty nesters now. And then us as mothers that are like, are we going to make it? Are we dying? The women who have grown kids are like, nah, you're going to make it through. And it's the encouragement that we need. So it's just a really beautiful dynamic. And it's the exact vision that I had when I set out. I mean, I think it's been like 3 years now. Yeah, because I came up with this idea when I was pregnant, and this is the exact vibe that I was going for and the exact energy. So to actually see that develop and transform and kind of like snowball over time into something just so beautiful, and like it's going to keep going and growing, and yeah, it's just a really beautiful space. But so we were talking about relationships last week, and I had a request from one of the girls in there if I would do a podcast episode on this topic, and it's basically, what is love? Because especially as women, we have really been sold a lie on what love is, and this started when we were little, watching Disney movies. And it's kind of funny, I was actually just watching a documentary. I don't know. I'm obsessed with like social media documentaries right now, and like the whole thing of like, I don't know, the fall of these like different influencers and like what they were doing. And I don't know. I randomly, what's that one, that Ruby lady? I don't know. I saw a TikTok on it. I'm like, what the hell is this? And, my TikTok's filled with like, my FYP page is just like fitness shit. So it's just like, and how to properly count calories at this point to build muscle. So like, I know it's kind of boring, but, it popped up and I was like, oh, what's this? And so I found the documentary. I think it was on like Hulu or something. And then that led me down this whole thing. So when I'm at the gym, and doing some cardio, like I'll watch these documentaries to pass time. But anyway, I was watching one and it stood out to me. This girl had said, when me and my sister were little, we would always dream about our wedding and what it would be like in the plan of doing XYZ. And it hit me when she said that, because I was like, yo, that's like, I've heard so many women say this. Like they say like, oh, this is my dream wedding that I've been dreaming of since I was a little girl. And we have been programmed into that. Listen, I'm obviously not anti-marriage. I've been through it twice. Like I'm not anti-marriage. But what I am anti is this thing of raising daughters in some type of brainwashing culture that like that's the thing they dream about. And the reason, there's a lot that goes into that, but if you think about the movies, at least like me as a millennial, like the movies we grew up on were always about like the woman being rescued by the prince. She's being saved from her evil stepmom. She's being saved from the seven dwarfs and a life of like cleaning or something. And so we kind of have this whole fantasy idea about what love and relationships are, and that is the ultimate goal, to be rescued by a man and live happily ever after, And I think that since a lot of women have, wounding, and I'm not going to call it like a dad wound or a mom wound or anything, because your wounds come from both sides. There's no going around it. And just because you're a female, it doesn't mean that you have daddy issues, and just because you're a male, it doesn't mean you have mommy issues. Like, it's interchangeable. Like your issues as a female could be coming from mom, and you project that into your partnerships, or you pick partners like your mother so that you can try to like heal that relationship. So we all have it. So it's not anything to be like ashamed of in any type of way. Newsflash to maidens listening to this, like when you do have children, there's no going around it. You're going to give them trauma. Like we come here and we get traumatized. That's unfortunately the path of humanness. And then the brave ones decide to go full force into healing themselves. And then other ones turn to vices and copes. So I think that especially as children, when we're in a disruptive household where there's either a lot of fighting between our parents or between us and our parents, or there's a parental figure missing, or it's an abusive household emotionally or physically, these like movies and ideas and fairy tales were an escape of like, oh, this exists. It has to exist. I'm seeing it on TV, like kind of like we do today. Oh, this has to be real. I'm seeing it on social media when it's the fakest shit. Like that's what a lot of these documentaries are exposing, right? But so we were kind of raised with this idea of like, yeah, I'm in a shitty environment. Like, I mean, look at Cinderella, look at Snow White, all of that. Like, I have a wicked stepmother. I am being treated XYZ way, and it's terrible. And the answer to this is to get whisked away by a prince. And so when we start getting attention from a man and he's promising us the world in those first 3 months, the love bombing stage, whatever, we'll get into that. that little girl triggers in us of like, oh yeah, my prince is here. I'm going to get rescued from this shit thing called life. And it's a hard punch in the face when you realize, oh, I was not rescued. I am being held captive. Usually you realize that when it's too late. And I think that's a lot of what my generation right now is trying to undo, is this programming that we have. And it has really led us to be in narcissistically abusive relationships fairly easily, because all narcissistic relationships start with that like 3-month love bombing phase where they are suddenly everything you've been looking for in a man, and they're showering you with things and affection, whatever. If you have a keen eye to it and you're not wrapped up in your emotion, you will be able to see the red flags and the little statements which is why I think community is really important. And you will, over time, once you're kind of like past that phase, little things will start happening, and it's really like a mental game consistently. And unfortunately, most men out there play the same fucking game. And it's like programmed to be this way. And they, in the longer term relationship, they're eventually convincing you that you're the crazy one. There's a ton of gaslighting going on. They're doing things to instigate you to be upset or yelling. And then, oh, look, see, you are the crazy one. You need help. Things like that. So, you're realizing the Snow White fantasy, the Cinderella fantasy isn't real. And that in itself is a huge shattering of an illusion, and then you get out of that relationship, but because it's so programmed, you jump into another one, and after a few months, lo and behold, your partner is now mirroring your ex. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? One of the things that I do love seeing, actually because of social media, is that women are getting a lot smarter, because women have a space now where they can't be silenced. They're coming out and saying things. And if you notice, like, cause I do when I go through, threads, it's not so much on Instagram, but like, when I go through on Threads or TikTok and I see either trad wives coming out and saying like, hey, like this isn't what you think, like we're basically just at-home slaves and that's it. And then now I'm 45 and my husband's cheating and running off with the secretary at work, and I helped him build up his life. I have nothing. I can't even get a job now. And so they're coming out and being like, don't do it unless there's a prenup, unless there's like a huge amount of money in the bank for you, so that if this does happen, you can leave, and don't sacrifice your education, because now I haven't worked in 15 years and I can't just go get any job, and I have, no experience other than being a stay-at-home mom, and you can't just write that on a resume. Nobody cares in corporate America that you ran a household. They don't translate that. And the only time I see shit in the comments trying to silence the women is men. Or when women are talking about their narcissistically abusive relationships that they escaped and what went on, and the gaslighting, and this is what you need to look for, and they're putting these videos out there, it's only ever men in the comments trying to silence them. Oh, well, what did you do though? What did you do to deserve that? Or they're saying things to try to pin everything back. What did you do to make him act that way? As if men can't, it's funny, because men always say that women are the emotional ones. Men are. For some reason, we tie emotion to like crying, because women default to tears when they're upset. Men default to like punching holes in walls and screaming, or, doing crazy shit. And, women, who's more emotional? Is the tears more scary or more emotional than the fucking wall punchers? Like, and it's very easy, generally speaking, to get the majority of men worked up in a response in a conversation. All you have to do is disagree with them. I've met very few men I mean, I honestly feel like I can say I've only met one that, he can actually have a conversation and have me disagree and, I don't want to say like I'm not coming at anything, but it's like I'm either disagreeing, bringing my opinion to the table, things like that. And, there's just a conversation that takes place. And it's funny because when I talk to this person a lot, I feel my body tense up waiting for a response because of generally how I expect men to act. And it never happens. This person's emotionally intelligent, which again is rare to find in males. Generally, all you have to do is disagree with a man and have a differing opinion, and they're defensive and they raise their voice. Their energy gets, they try to like puff up a little bit, and you can feel it energetically, even if you don't like see it physically. Energetically, you feel them puff up. You feel tension rise in the conversation. It's just like they are the over emotional ones. And, I mean, if you look at the state of our country, it's been run by men this entire time. And they're like, oh, a woman is too emotional. She can't run a country. Really? Because like we are literally like at war constantly, like blowing things up for what? Money? For what? What are you doing? Like, that is the most ridiculous, over-emotional thing I've ever heard of. So what I feel like is happening is that like women, since we're all talking and we all have platforms, are kind of getting smart to all this shit, and we're not tolerating it anymore. And so now they come up with this thing called the male loneliness epidemic. Like, y'all are lonely because of your own selves. And this isn't an epidemic. Like, it's not an epidemic. Like, domestic violence against women, which is insanely high, is not an epidemic. But a man feeling alone is an epidemic. Why are you calling it that? It just proves how self-centered fucking men are. They think the whole entire world revolves around them and their feelings. Another sign of low emotional intelligence. And all of this attacking that they do, oh, women don't want to do this no more. Women don't want to do it. Yeah, no, we don't. We don't want to fucking do that anymore. Like, grow the fuck up. We're not your mothers. And do something. Like, change. Y'all gotta change. If you want to be in a relationship, you gotta fucking change. Because women aren't gonna tolerate the same bullshit anymore. Y'all want to go back to the 1950s when your fucking grandmother couldn't have a bank account and was trapped by a man because she couldn't even fucking work and had to just cook and clean all day and pop out babies. We don't want to do that anymore because the whole burden of responsibility is on that, because you think you go to work and get a paycheck. That is all you gotta do. What do you bring to the table? Fuck you, sir. There would be no goddamn table without me. And I'm not a waitress. I don't bring nothing to the fucking table. People are crazy, man. I can't even believe the immaturity that I see on the fucking internet. Like, all the internet is really doing is exposing men. And a lot of them are just, I mean, there's men out there that are obviously doing the work. And they don't want any part of the system anymore, and they're realizing that they're going to like lose everything, and they're going to lose their marriages and if they don't change. But there's a huge majority right now that is like, fuck that. We're just going to keep badgering women and gaslighting them to try to go back to how things used to be. Well, sir, I got news for you. There's no going back in time. There's only moving forward, and none of us are going to be doing that. Thank you. Okay. Especially not with women like me that are fucking big mouths and will make sure every woman I come in contact with will never go through that. So, anyway, love. Let's talk about it. This is all leading up to it. But this is the problem. We have been taught that love is a prince coming to save you, to make you his princess. And that is not love. And love is not the emotions that you feel when you first start talking to somebody. That's infatuation. And there's nothing wrong with that. It is totally good to go to just be in that energy. Like, I love emotions. I love I'm a woman, and I love the highs and I love the lows and everything in between that I get to experience. and how quickly it changes according to every time the moon changes its sign. So like every 2.5 days, ladies, you're not going crazy. You're ruled by the moon. And the more you get in tune with that moon, you're going to understand your emotions. So every like 2.5 days, you're feeling different, and that's just a thing. And so, goes along with your cycle. And, it's this beautiful thing about being a woman, and we shouldn't ever, knock that. But we also have to be smart because of what the climate is like out there. We can't live in Disney fairy tales anymore. We have to accept the fact that they don't exist, and always keep in mind, and I say this even in my mentorship programs and whatever, it doesn't even mean about relationships. Just in general in life, you always need to have the mindset that nobody is coming to save you. You are your own savior. You can see where religion preys on this. No one outside of you is going to save you. There's nothing coming to rescue you. You have to approach everything with the mindset that you are your own savior, that you're here to save yourself. It puts the responsibility and authority at the same time on yourself to govern your own life. And everything from your finances to relationships should be viewed through this. Everything you go through in life, when you are in a shit situation, things are hitting the fan, it's up to you to get yourself out of that. Nobody else. And this isn't to say, I don't want you to get confused. Yeah, you need community. We're not meant to do things alone. But things coming to rescue you out of entire situations, and now all of a sudden you were in X situation, and then somebody comes to save you, and now you're in Y situation, that sets you up for to be preyed upon. Because you're believing these things, and then when somebody, some dude comes in and tries to offer it to you, and you think you're going to be rescued, you're missing out on a lot of things that you need to build yourself up, which was why the situation happened in the first place. But B, it sets you up to be trapped because you're looking at everything that's happening through this lens. Oh, God sent this man in my life. Yeah. How many times have y'all watched those criminal documentaries? That's how it starts. Oh, Jesus sent him to me. God sent him to me. It was even signs and oh my God. It'll make you question a lot with the universe for sure. So anyway, these feelings and what you're feeling, that's not a good, healthy definition of love, in my opinion. And this is what we were talking about in depth on the network. And this is when one of the girls requested to please do a pod on this. If love is just something that you feel, and that's what you're experiencing, in the beginning of a relationship when you're in a high, you can easily, that could vanish. Because it's just a feeling, and feelings are fleeting. Okay? They're in one day, out the next. You could be super upset and crying about something, and then have a 15-minute conversation with somebody and feel completely different after that conversation. That's how much emotions can change. Right? So that's very unstable. To label something as big as love, I am in love with this person, that's very unstable, because that means as your emotions shift and change, the love you have for that person is going to shift and change. And the shift and changes that happen in your emotions towards somebody, that's normal. But it can't have you questioning, do I still love this person? Because that's how we know it's you're basing love on just pure emotion. Love is something so much deeper, and it's something that is built over time. Love is a choice. Love is a choice. When you wake up every day, when you're deciding to be in a relationship with someone, and you're at a point where there is true love, and we'll get there in a second. You are going to wake up in the morning and choose that person every day. It means you're going to choose to love them. And it's a choice that you're going to remain in that state of being until you do not choose that anymore. And this is what will get you through the thicker times when things feel hard, when situations arise in your life, because it will happen. When you are in those situations, are you just going to fall out of love with someone because you're going through a hard patch and now I don't have feelings for them anymore and you like break up and go run off? No. You have to choose that person during those hard times. And if there is a depth of love there that has built over time, that's what you choose to do because you know you actually have real love for this person. And so to build up to that, it takes time and it takes effort and it takes going through life together, because being like, oh, I'm so in love versus a few years from starting point when you're sitting on the couch and one of y'all gets up to go to the bathroom and you're just like, oh, I love the way their knees crack when they get up off the couch. I'm telling you how old I am, huh? Yeah. Like, that's a deep love because you have gone through life together. You've supported each other during down times. You've shared such deep experiences, and through that support and being like, wow, that person was really there for me. And understanding and all of the things that you do in life together, all of the good things, all of the dates and all of the nights where you guys watch a movie together and, ladies, you're sleeping after 10 minutes and, he carries you off to bed, or he doesn't disturb you and leaves you on the couch because that's what you like, and covers you with your favorite fluffy blanket. I don't know. All of those little things where over time you guys are thinking of each other and these little acts of kindness, doing the dishes, doing whatever. Oh, I stopped by the store and grabbed you your favorite bar of chocolate or whatever. I saw this at the checkout line at the gas station. I thought of you. Here's a little whatever. Little things like that. And then the bigger things, like when I was going through XYZ, like you were there for me and you let me go through my emotional process. You supported me in that. Whatever. All of that builds up over time. And that's when you have like a deep love for somebody, because you are seeing depths of them and still loving those things. You love the way they are emotionally deep about things. You start to love the way they process stuff, and you love the deeper conversations that you stay up and have. And there's all of this foundational build up of things that make love. And that is a lot harder to throw away. And men that are presently aware of that type and are willing to get that deep, they don't cheat. They don't run off with another woman as soon as things get tough. They don't lose interest, because in those dull moments where you've been with somebody for a while and things are seeming like whatever, boring, whatever, if you're choosing love, you're going to choose and have the conversations and, hey, I'm bored. Let's try whatever. Let's do this, or this isn't working for me anymore. Like something has to shift here, and they can have a conversation. Now, most men can't do that today. Sorry. Most men cannot. Some men, okay, we hear you. I always see that in the comments. Not all men. Okay. Whatever. Okay, we know. And this is what I call being psychologically nude, because anybody can get naked. Anybody can strip their clothes off and get naked. It's not that hard to do, okay? But it takes some real effort and energy to be psychologically nude with somebody. And most people don't have the depth or the capacity to actually do that. They don't want to be psychologically nude. They want to hide behind walls, and they want to put up certain personas and ideas and whatever that they're projecting, and their egos get in the way. And to be psychologically nude with somebody, especially from a female perspective, now I can't speak from a male perspective, I'm not a man. From a female perspective, we have to feel safe in a relationship to be psychologically nude. And over time, that is what's proven to us, that it is a safe space. And things will come up in the dynamic of the relationship that will prove if a man is a safe person to open up or not. And this brings me back to even my podcast on orgasms and stuff, right? Like, a woman has to be able to trust a man with her orgasm. And this comes from physically being able to actually last in bed. And it comes a lot mentally, where can I trust this person? Are they able to hold space for my emotion? Because those deeper orgasms actually release a lot of emotion, and unconsciously you'll stop yourself from having them so that those emotions don't release. When you don't feel safe around somebody, you'll just be stuck with clitoral orgasms. Because think about, like, that's a surface level orgasm because it's literally on the outer surface of your body. Those inner deep vaginal orgasms that happen, there generally needs to be some type of safe space there, because they do involve emotions. And so psychological nudity is what leads to love, in my opinion, where you can be so fully yourself, where you as a woman don't have to be afraid to go to your partner and say, hey, like, this is, when you do this or when you say this, it hurts me. And a lot of men, instead of responding with, okay, let's talk about it, like, this is what I'm meaning when I say it, why is this triggering to you? Tell me more. They get curious about it and want to know more and see what they can do to shift. Now, the majority of men, they get defensive, like as if, oh, what, I'm not perfect? They don't say that, but that's their ego, what their ego is doing in their body, and they immediately get defensive and they put it back on you. Well, you shouldn't XYZ. I'm sorry you feel that way. And anytime you express your emotion, it's thrown back in your face. How do you feel safe in a relationship like that? Fine, keep getting naked. You can keep getting physically nude, but you are not psychologically nude in that relationship. And so how can you say, yes, I am so in love? You can't even get psychologically nude. You are just physically naked. You can be naked in front of anybody if you're comfortable long enough. I fucking go in the locker room at the gym and I could care less if I'm in a dressing room or not. I'll get naked in front of people. That don't mean shit to me. It's a fucking body. I'm not going to get physically naked in front of random dudes. You know, other women I could care less. But, like, I mean, come on now. Come on. Like, I've gone skinny dipping at the beach. I could care less. Anybody can do that. Okay? It just matters of, you know, how you feel about nudity based on, like, what societal religious structures you grew up in. Psychological nudity, barely any women experience that in a relationship. And this is what women are sick of, because they want something deeper that men can't offer because men are refusing to do the work for that. And if one partner is refusing to do the work on that, and if you are as a female somebody who you're catching yourself, like, I don't allow my partner to be psychologically nude with me, you have to question yourself as well and take responsibility for that. But if you're in a relationship, ladies, and you're afraid to express yourself because you know they're going to freak out, or it's going to be used against you later, or you're going to be called crazy, or you're going to be gaslit, and your feelings are going to be invalidated, then what? Where are you at in a relationship? Because you're surely not in love. You are coexisting with somebody, because that is not love. And you are brainwashed into something that is not good for you. Most likely you are trauma bonded. And what is happening is you are reliving your childhood in that relationship. And it feels like love because that's how you experience love from your parents. And I go over this in my shadow work challenge, and obviously in the one-on-one mentorship, this is like the whole thing we're constantly addressing in there. When you are a little child, you are living in your subconscious mind. And then you're in your alpha state all the way until you're like 13 or 14. So in those years, everything that your parents do to you and that you experience, you're experiencing that as love because you are little, and why would you think your parents don't love you? And why would you think that you're experiencing anything but that? You don't even recognize separation of individuality until I believe it starts developing around 8. And that's only one tiny layer of it. It's like a realization you're not attached to your mother anymore. Happens around 7 or 8. And then it's not even until 16 that you realize your personality is separate from your parents. That's a lot of years. Your brain is already very developed at that point. And so you're in that and you're experiencing these things from your parents, and you're thinking that this is what love is. You're seeing what their dynamic is and between each other, and then their dynamic of how they're treating you. And so then when you go off into the world and thinking you're falling in love and there's all these feelings, you very well could just be experiencing a trauma bond. And you're experiencing one of your parents' energy from this person. And that feels like love because that's what love was to you when you were growing up. This is why when you are with one partner and then after a while it turns sour and things are bad, but you stay and da-da-da, and then you finally get the courage to fucking leave after you realize your 10,000 requests of change are never going to happen. And you leave, and then you find another one, and things are really good in that beginning stage, and we're so in love, and da-da-da. And then what happens down the road? Somehow they magically turned into your ex. What the fuck just happened? This is the thing. This is the thing. Like, I hear this constantly, doing readings and doing... It's always the same story. Oh my God, they're just like my ex. How the fuck did that happen? It happened because your lens of love, what your body responds to as love, what it thinks love is literally how your parents treated you when you were a child. And until you do that inner shadow work to address that and unify with that and integrate and alchemize that, you're forever going to be in that cycle. And you're forever going to be searching for that trauma bond because that's what you feel love is. And until you get that shit worked out and healthy, you'll always have the same type of partner. It happens on an unconscious level because you're always trying to heal that bond with one of your parents. And this goes like really deep. I mean, I'm not going to get into it. We're wrapping up at the end of the episode right now. But, yeah, just ladies, please know that love exists, obviously. And you have to separate that out from emotion. And you have to get yourself out of the Disney fairy tale princess scenario that we've been brainwashed in for a while. And there's a certain level of, and I know that this is like spoken against, like, oh, the independent woman is not in her feminine. The fuck she ain't. How can you say that? You really, like, y'all think you're doing a service to women telling them that independence is not femininity? Because femininity isn't relying on a man. I get so mad when that fucking Shara 7 woman pops up on my fucking feed. Because it's like, you're literally teaching women how to be reliant on a man for money by just dating for money. And that blows my fucking mind, because like the thousands of women that are listening to her and are trying to take her advice, and it's like, first of all, how empty of a fucking relationship. Number two, how are you, so you're just gonna put up with a man until he's dead and you like inherit his shit? And just so you can buy fancy cars and handbags? The fuck? Way to keep women down. The fuck is that? You might as well stay the fucking 1920s and 1950s fucking narrative. Independence is very feminine. You can find that in the goddess pantheon pretty fucking easily. It's hyper independence that is toxic, because women need each other. You can be independent and still rely on other women in your community. That's called interdependence. And in a healthy love relationship with a partner, it's interdependence that you are looking for, where two independent people come together and know how to coexist with each other without intermeshing their lives so fucking much that it's codependency. And there's a fine line in this, and the reason there's a fine line is because so many of us are fucking wounded. We're coming, men and women both, so it's easy to fall into codependency, because women that are very unhealed and broken are coming into relationships trying to do for men to prove their worth so that they can get picked. And then the men that are not healed are vamping all that energy and not giving anything back. And they're using the woman to build their own lives. This is why in breakups, men tend to fall apart and have to hop into another relationship very quickly, and women will stay solo and do the healing work so that they don't allow that to happen again. And ladies, if you are not doing that and you're just relationship hopping one after another, as soon as you're getting out of one, you're in another, you need to stop and assess what you're trying to do here. Because if you're continually breaking up and like trying anew, what is it that you're repeating the same man over and over again? The world is trying to show you something, because nature's forever trying to evolve you. And that whole pick-me syndrome that is being really highlighted right now in women, that is like in our primal instinct to be a pick-me. Like, women have that because this goes back to, again, like in primal times, we needed to be picked by a man for our own survival. We weren't going out hunting. We weren't protecting. Like, we were with the babies. We were making the food. We were doing the home shit. And I'm talking about like pre-industrialization, not even in industrial society. I'm talking about pre-industrialization, like way back, like primal shit. So it's in our primal psychology as a default to be a pick-me. It was for our own survival. But we don't live in that anymore. We are like way over industrialized at this point. And the pick me thing has now turned into, I'm going to change everything about me for a man so I can get picked. That's how I'm going to choose how I dress and act and behave on social media, on whatever. And then when I'm in a relationship, I'm going to keep doing and doing and doing for this man and pouring into him and doing and help him build up his life and build with him and do all this and do all that. And it just fucks you in the end. That behavior fucks you. It makes you trapped. And you are always giving, and that man is always taking because he is unhealed. And this is a very codependent dynamic. And so he is vamping you. And that's why when women are in toxic relationships, they do not glow. Their faces start to, they elongate when they're in narcissistically abusive relationships. They sink in, there's no glow. And then generally when that gets cut off, the narcissist is, immediately in another relationship because they need a supply. And then the woman starts getting her glow back because her energy is pulled back. Because that pick me energy of like I'm trying to prove my worth constantly. I'm going to do all these things for a man to prove my worth so he will accept me. You're always going to chase that. You're never going to be fully accepted by a man like that because that attracts vamps. And that is your dynamic. You're in a relationship with a vamp until you cut it off. In a healthy relationship, when men are in their power, they have a certain level of confidence that they actually love taking care of their women. It does something to them to be able to do that. They are true providers, true protectors. And when a man brings energy like that and hands it to a woman, by nature, a woman is going to take that and multiply it and give it back to a man. It's all unconscious that this happens. It's going to drive you to want to take care of that man based on his actions towards you. That is a true dynamic that happens between a healed masculine and a healed feminine. When it's an unhealed, you as the woman initiate and do towards the man hoping to receive something back. And that's how a woman is in her masculine. It's not about your actions of doing and going out and working and being whatever you want to be, a boss babe, if you want to, I don't know, be whatever. That's not masculine, feminine. It's the dynamic energy between the relationship. The masculine is actually supposed to give to the feminine, and then from that space that he just gave, she then gives back out of response. Femininity responds to masculinity. Femininity doesn't give to masculinity and then masculinity gives back. That is not a true healthy dynamic. Because it takes a healed masculine to be in his power, to be able to even be comfortable enough to give to a woman knowing that dynamic works. And they take pride in being able to do that. So these red pill bros and these 50-50, what do you bring to the table, motherfuckers? When I hear that from a man, all I think is what an unconfident little bitch. He has his balls tucked between his legs. He thinks he has something to like protect and, I gotta make sure that she brings things to the table. Fuck off, man. You sound like a little bitch. For reals, though. Like, that's all I think. It's like, I would never even consider language like that. Because a true masculine is wanting to do that, is wanting to bring fucking everything to the table. And they know that the response a woman has when she's truly, purely in her feminine is going to be to take care of that man. It's a response that happens naturally in a healed feminine. So yeah. And then that's how love develops. Over time. So there. I don't even know how to end the podcast. I guess, what's really fucking wicked? Going against the princess narrative. Getting psychologically nude with a partner, that's some wicked shit right there. Not feeling like you have to prove yourself to a man in order to be worthy to receive. It's wicked to go against that. It's wicked to say, I am going to wait to see what you are going to do for me and how you're going to treat me. And I'll naturally respond based off of that. We're in a different day and age. You can't just show up now and be like, oh, it's a man. Thank God. Your abs don't mean anything. Your dick doesn't mean anything. No, this isn't fucking 1990. Like, no. You got to be emotionally intelligent. You got to be willing to do the work. You got to be willing to go in. You have to be willing to get curious. You have to understand those dudes that complain about women being emotional, it's because they can't handle a woman. Run. I'm sorry. If you hear a man say that, block. Fucking block. Because that means that they can't handle you. I've said this before. Men should be tree trunks and they should have deep roots in the earth so that when winds come blowing, because that's what feminine energy is, it's those strong winds that come through the leaves on the tree. They have to be able to be the strong base to withstand that. And a woman can go very far and very high for the children that she bears, for the man in her life, and for her own self, if she has a strong masculine behind her. And we need both. We need that. Yes, women can get very far on their own independently, but when a strong, healed woman is paired with a strong, healed man, they can go the farthest. A woman can do unthinkable things when she has a man like that in her life. She can reach heights that you can't even dream of when she has that as a base. And that requires time and effort on both parts to be able to build a dynamic like that in a relationship. And that's when true love is developed. That's when some serious love is developed that you don't even have words for. That's when you start loving the cracking of the knees when you get off the couch. All right, that's the episode for today, you guys. The best I can give you is stay wicked. Want to be part of an online community filled with other badass women supporting each other on their wicked journey? Check out my online community, the Wise Woman Network. We have classes, courses, online community meetings, and more. Activate that sleeping goddess within and unleash your divine power. Join me today on a free trial to all my listeners. Link is in the show notes. I'll see you there.